next matter to come before us is in red KF and DF. The agency has waived oral argument this morning. We'll have 15 minutes to present oral argument. We're a little bit delayed, but I understand there was trouble finding the correct building and getting it. And we have another case right after yours. But we're going to allow 15 minutes for oral argument. Please don't use the name of any minors, children, or victims in this case, because we are recording this oral argument. It'll be placed on our YouTube channel. We've read the briefs. We're ready to proceed when you are. If you'd like to step up to the podium.
Good morning. I'm Sherelle Ferguson. I am representing myself, and I am the mother of the 2 children involved. If it's okay, may I use to express them as a son and daughter?
That would be wonderful. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I would like to acknowledge that I have been reading about the way the law works in the field, and I feel that I am lacking in some of the understanding, but I understand enough to be able to address the judgment that I am appealing. And I would like to begin with the nature of how the case was presented. On the evening that this occurred, I had been having experiences with the neighbors where they were threatening and smoking that had affected my children and eye health. They moved in November 2020, and the nature that brought us here occurred December 13th, after midnight. Prior to that, I had expressed and elicited some support from other services, fair housing, my children's doctor. I have reached out to the landlord. I even initially addressed the neighbor with some concerns, and the neighbor's response was dismissive, and other people expressed they didn't know how to help. In addition, I have reached out to the police and expressed my concerns and difficulties with our health and the harassment that my children and I experienced. And I felt that I was not able to be able to receive any assistance with trying to address the matter maturely. I acknowledged that I was emotional and I reacted in lack of sleep and anger. Previously, I had been up with my daughter who had been wheezing from the smoke, and I was frustrated and concerned for their well-being as well as mine. The police arrived that evening because I had been making noise above the neighbors. It was a 2-family home, and when they opened the door downstairs, I yelled down an expression of frustration with them. I acknowledged that I was upset, and you could even use the word frantic, because I felt helpless at that moment. I did speak with the officer and express why I was frustrated, and I was able to calm down to express what the nature of what was going on. I felt unheard. The officer expressed to me I was going to the hospital and made a comment that another officer would stay with my children. I did not believe him, but I didn't know how to address my concerns without feeling that I was being difficult. I went to the hospital. I told a number of staff what was going on, and they sent me home. I don't have a lot of family support, but I do have family and friends. To ask them to care for my children for a long period of time was not possible. It would have been different had I been able to speak with someone to care for them for the evening while I sorted the matter. There were a number of things that occurred in the beginning of this case that I did not understand and put trust in my first attorney to be able to amend the situation. I felt that the attorney wasn't working my best interest, but I wasn't aware that I was able to ask for another one. I've gotten to the point of representing myself because I feel that no one has been speaking up in the nature for my children to be safe as well as I. I feel this case is a matter of my children and I being in danger and being mistreated, not my children being mistreated. There is record in the judgment that my children have expressed wanting to come home, that my son has expressed that he didn't feel I did something wrong, and as well as the caseworker expressing that she felt that I was doing a good job because I had sought services for therapy. I have prior to and since then been receiving help for therapy to address previous traumas. I have done things for my children to care for them as a whole, holistically, educationally, healthy boundaries, and involving people who support those morals. There are some specific matters that I would like to address, and I apologize if it just take a second to think of them. I would like to address that previously my mental health has come up in question, and the nature of me being suicidal has been brought into their reasoning, and I would like to express that that situation did occur. There's no connection to me caring for my children and being upset for feeling unsafe from my neighbors. To go further into it, considering that the attempt at suicide was mentioned, I had intentionally went to see a doctor because I felt sad and asked for some help, to be able to deal with my mood, having things going on in my environment at the time that were making it hard to, be happy. The medication did not agree with me, and there's record to acknowledge that sometimes antidepressants can make people feel worse, and that was discussed with the doctor. My whole time of being a mother, I have always sought help to address any feelings that I had and take accountability for if I'm struggling with something, whether it's emotional, physical, or any nature, to make sure that I'm doing a good job to be the best mother as possible. I would like to address the nature of these terms that I didn't allow the father to see the daughter. Specifically, my son is not his child, but my daughter is. He's aware of my son because when I met him, my son was 6 months old. I disagree with them saying that I have alienated my child from him. I question, does that still count if he's not actually involved with her to be alienated? I made attempts to be able to address co-parenting because I was interested in him being a father and being in her life. I had had relationships with him that defined girlfriend and boyfriend, and even still acted as one after actually not acknowledging the intimate relationship. It appeared that when I was able to work, get my children into a private school, and create a routine that was balanced for all of us, that he had taken an interest in being a father to the daughter. And I attempted again to co-parent, but matters that were threatening my safety and my children's safety kept occurring that he did not communicate with me and address. I acted and I expressed to him I was concerned about his girlfriend threatening me, which was done so in front of my children, and expressed that I didn't want to deal with having to constantly defend myself and for my children to be in that environment. He didn't acknowledge me or the situations that had occurred that included her. And having been with therapy at the Domestic Violence Center for some years, I had discussed with the therapist that I felt it was only safe for me to go no contact. I have since then been able to address things that I was struggling with, not realizing that there were unhealthy things that I accepted in dealing with him that were not actually, were something that I wasn't aware of that affected both my children, both of my children and myself. I acknowledge that the night that the police came and that initiated this case, as far as addressing my neighbors, I acknowledge that I didn't react in a way that would be considered mature, and I understood their inquiring about my children's well-being. I would hope that someone would inquire to make sure that they were all right. I disagree with separating my children from me because it has caused more harm to us. And I have worked with them and done the things that they asked, and I feel that the matter was handled, that their reasoning for removing my children was handled in excess. The case states that there was reasonable efforts to not remove the children. I don't feel that reasonable efforts were made. The caseworker commented that she asked to come and see the home. My conversation with the caseworker expressed that she asked if she thought if she came to my home, would she be able to see about the smoke? And I responded to her that it's mostly during the evening. I didn't think that it would be a problem as much during the day. She did not verbally express to me that she should do that as part of her job or that it was a good idea. The nature of the conversation was distorted to appear that as if I was being difficult. The whole time that they have been involved in this matter, I have communicated, my children have communicated, and I do not feel safe. And I haven't felt safe with the nature of my daughter's father given the history. I understand that the court only seems to acknowledge charges actually being pressed, and I've only attempted to begin them in the past and not actually fulfilled following through with charges for different fears and thinking that something might be worse. I can't think of anything else that I would like to share or comment on.
Thank you. Thank you very much. The court will take the matter under advisement. We will issue a written decision, which we mail to all parties to this appeal, as well as posted on the Ohio Supreme Court website. We're adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.